people watch these chats, it would have been a lot easier for me and Adam to just like step on our porch and yell out our windows because we kind of live like about a block away from each other. So might have been easier that way.
Maybe.
So what's happened?
Practicing acceptable social distancing techniques.
Exactly. So what's happening? What have you been doing? In terms of the last month and a half with our beloved sport.
Yeah, well, from a boxing perspective, I think it was tough to write for a little bit. Tough, so there was so much going on in the world, and my wife is a physician. I've been in the healthcare field for a while. Tough times. So, I think for a while everybody was catching their bearings. One of the things I've been doing, I guess, in the last month is doing this series of articles called Promoter Snapshots. And so
they're a lot bigger than snapshots. They're like portfolios.
So my last piece was on the PBC, and they have something like 160, 170 guys. And so it's a lot easier to do these things when they have 30 people in a stable. But I did Golden Boy a few weeks ago, and I did Premier Boxing Champions last Friday. My next piece is going to be on Top Rank, and I've got some very nice feedback, and it looks at basically the strategic position of each of these companies. Who's in their stable, who's a prospect on the rise, what kind of tough decisions do they have in the next 12 to 18 months. There's some criticisms too. It's been well received. I've gotten good feedback from both companies that I've written about, so I don't feel like I missed anything big. But it's a fun project, but it takes a ton of time to get to know some of these prospects. And we see these guys' records, and they're 3-0 or they're 5-0. Well, who are they? What are they about? It's been fun. It's been a good challenge.
Have you? You said you've gotten good feedback. Have you gotten any quote constructive criticism from either of these two so far? You can't plead. That's wow.
I mean, I think one person from one of the organizations reached out and didn't particularly love how I characterized their collection of prospects, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things anybody was too off base. Actually, privately, off the record, I received a lot of very positive, like, you nailed it, or thank you, or I thought that was fair, stuff like that. And that's the thing, it wasn't about taking shots. It was let's take this moment, let's pause in the sport, and let's see where's everybody at. The challenges that Golden Boy faces and, let's say, Top Rank faces are going to be completely different as boxing resumes. In my estimation, Golden Boy has a lot of interesting prospects in their stable that a lot of people don't know about. And so I think theirs is going to be one of really using their promotional assets in a way that they haven't been doing. Now, I haven't completed Top Rank yet. I'm beginning to work on it. But their issue is that a lot of their big fighters are international. And as we know, it's going to be very tough to come in and fight in America once this is all starting again. When's Inouye going to get back into this country? All of these, they had Herring against
Frampton.
That was going to be in Belfast. They had Shakur Stevenson against Warrington. So all these fun fights that are on the docket, I don't expect to see anytime soon.
Now, I'm sorry. I was going to say, when you're doing a piece like that, obviously, I don't know how many pages in terms of you print out. What's more of a daunting task, the actual writing or the research?
That's a really good question. And to be honest with you, I think the toughest part is knowing what to leave out. Is that it's is to be thorough but not overkill. And the research has been fun, to be honest. I've learned a lot of things. One of the things I realized about PBC is, one, if you put all the names of guys they have from 29 to 35, how amazing that stable has been with Porter and Thurman and Spence and Rasheed Warren. They have like 12 guys, 14 guys that have won belts just in those 6 years of that age group. This is great. Take a look at that next step down. I don't think they're as strong there. Now, there's time for these young guys to, of course, they have Gervonta Davis and Caleb Plant and Benavides, guys that I like, but I don't know if they have the depth that I saw from that previous group. That being said, that previous group, they had amazing depth. I mean, they had amongst the best depth in the sport at that point in time. So I learned stuff each time. The research has been fun, but it's tough. I miss guys. You know, there are guys. There was a heavyweight I missed in Golden Boy Stable that I got some comments back, like, you really should have put this guy in. And, you know, I see some clips and I talk to some people and he's not on the radar, but then suddenly he's you know, so I'm not going to get everybody. But it's been a good exercise. I mean, Top Rank has 103 fighters under contract, something like that, 101. So obviously no one that doesn't work for the company. I mean, I'm not Brad Goodman. I'm not Bruce Trampler. I don't know each of these 101 guys intimately. But I'm going to try my best to be as familiar as I can with most of them. And, you know, ask around and see who's worth including, commenting on who's not.
I'll say 160. You said for PBC. How many did you touch on?
Well, you know, a lot of them I'll list in formats in different categories.
Yeah.
So who are their elite fighters, who are their champions, who are their interim champions, you know, who are some under the radar guys that you may not know about, who are their top prospects, who's their second level prospects. I think I hit on over 100 in that list. I think I hit over 100. I mean, you know, every company has the guys that are still on their roster sheet that aren't that active anymore, or clearly on the downside, or, you know, running out the string. I think I definitely got over 100.
Is this something, obviously you definitely could do it, you can make time, but is this something that because of our timeout that we have here that, you know, it was a little bit easier to do because that we have the time and whatnot?
Yeah, these are long pieces. These took me, you know, the research and writing 2.5 to 3 days each. I mean, you know, they're I don't want to say they're excruciatingly long, but they take time to get it right. And yeah, I think, you know, I had wanted to do this. I was thinking about this series in February, and I was thinking, you know, if I could do one a quarter, you know, when boxing was still going on, this would be great. And now I'm thinking, well, this is actually a great thing to do during this break. It's been fun, and definitely something that's kept me actively engaged in the sport during its absence.
So you're working on Top Rank. I would imagine Matchroom would be after that?
That's correct.
Have you started, you said you've started on Top Rank. Have you started actually on the Matchroom as well to try to...
No, I just, you know, the problem with these bigger promoters is they have so many of these co-promotional and strange, I mean, obviously the challenge with PBC is who is actually a PBC fighter. You know, what does that mean? You know, are all Mayweather promotion guys PBC? Anyway, so I try to address that in the article. Top Rank has so many co-promotional deals with various people around the world. And, you know, some of these are obvious. Like, we know his deal with Frank Warren, you know, and we know he has a deal with Yvonne Michelle up in Montreal for Alvarez and a couple guys.
He's got Avalo with Pulev and certain guys
correct.
like that.
But there are other people on the roster where it's, you know, they have American rights to fights that they promote. Does that mean they're their fight? You know, so a lot of it's just kind of figuring out as best I can who is really on the roster. You know, what's the difference between a partnership and like a real co-promotional team? Because I've learned that people don't really want you talking about their fighters if they're not really theirs.
You're one of the more active social media, Twitter, boxing Twitter, I guess influences. I guess that's the word or whatnot. During this timeout, you know, there's been a lot of different talk. What's been like things that you may have taken away from the people on Twitter, what they're talking about in the game of boxing, in the sport, or in the business that you've kind of maybe noticed over the last few weeks?
Well, I think boredom's setting in. And, you know, I think anybody is so excited for a sliver of news, right? So you have this whole report that Fury and Joshua are interested in fighting, you know, and Wilder is going to be asked to step aside, and then the next day that's complete bunk. You know, I kind of felt that reading it the first time, but so be it. I think people are just really excited. what I've noticed, I've been reading comments from people like Steven Espinoza and Oscar De La Hoya, Bob Arum. They all have these different views of what boxing is going to look like when it resumes. Some think they're going to start off with big fights, and some think they're going to do these smaller shows in a studio. You know, Eddie Hearn was on record saying we can't do major fights yet. We haven't figured out how to pay these guys that get $5-10 million a fight. There's no way we can do that without fans yet. We haven't figured it out. So I've been talking to a lot of people. I do a podcast once a month with my co-host Brandon Stubbs, Punch to the Face, and we're trying to figure out kind of what the sport's going to look like. And it's really fascinating because you get so many different opinions.
Well,
as you know, Mark, I mean, you're involved so much with our local shows, you know, not just in Philadelphia, but everywhere. I mean, what the hell are local promoters going to do?
I've been saying that. I mean, it's going to be very difficult without a TV backing because a lot of the promoters they work off of ticket sales to pay not only pay the fighters but pay all the other bills that go along with putting a show on. So without TV, it's going to be very, very difficult, or some type of streaming service that provides a rights fee. And you know, I think a big thing, just getting back to the TV fights and what the sport's going to look like, Saturday night is actually a big night, I think, for what boxing. A lot of, you know, over the past years, boxing, UFC boxing. Saturday night, UFC's got a big pay-per-view fight in an empty 15,000 seat arena. So that's going to go a long way in the next couple weeks. Or are people going to get sick? Or, you know, what's the social distancing? You know, all that stuff that all those phrases that we've learned over the last 7 weeks, social distancing and whatnot, people wearing masks, or they're going to be wearing masks in the corners and whatnot. So I think this UFC fight Saturday night, and you know, they're doing 3 shows in a week over the next week or so. I think that may be some type of blueprint of what boxing may look like for the rest of the year, minimum.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know, the unfortunate thing too is we had a couple of big fights in the last couple months that I don't think are going to come back. You know, I don't think we're going to see a Nui Casemiro anytime soon. I don't think we're going to see the Luke Campbell Javier Fortuna fight that was scheduled. That was going to be a 135-pound title belt.
And that's only because of the travel ban, not because the promoters or whatever, a fighter not going to take the fight or whatever.
Yeah, and so I talked with Jamel Herring last week, the 130-pound champ, and you know, he said he threw his hat in the ring at the top rank in terms of fighting in a studio, not in front of fans, and with the acknowledgement that people are going to lose some money, fighters at first. But he said, you know what? Ratings of anything live has been very good right now.
Yeah, the NFL draft.
It's very possible for fighters to make some additional money in terms of sponsorship and raise their visibility during this time, especially at first, because there's not much competition. You know, boxing has the ability to attract eyeballs right now. Think about, you know, it could be a couple good months for boxing. If they could somehow find a scenario that works, there's going to be nothing until September.
What do you talking about the presentation of it, fighting in the studio, no fans? You know, a lot of, especially, you know, we've been to big fights, I've been to big fights, you've been to big fights. The atmosphere is a big deal of, you know, when you go to these big fights. You know, whether it's, you know, a mega fight, a Wilder Fury type of fight, or even a fight, a guy fighting in his hometown, you know, in front of 9,000-10,000 fans or whatever. That's not going to happen. So, and that looks great on television. I'm a big wrestling fan, so I've been watching some of the wrestling, and it's just not the same without the fans in there. I mean, what do you think the presentation is going to be?
It's a big issue. It is a big, like, listen, we all know smaller cars over the years. We've all seen the studio casino ballrooms that have 100 or 200 people, and the room sounds completely dead, and you're watching it on TV, and you want to fall asleep. Now, the crowd noise, the excitement, the emotion that's tied into a boxing event, it's very much a part of the whole experience. So it's very tough. And the thing is, if the announcers try to fake excitement, the broadcasters, that rings fake. So
Little
it's going to be it's going to be a problem, you know, in terms of trying to get that energy level going, try and sell it as a product. You know, I think that's a big question. And you know what? Boxing's going to have to figure out a way to solve it. You have these companies with huge media contracts that need to put fights on, that need to start recouping investments they have, that need to work with their television partners. So I expect they're going to figure it out one way or the other. Whether or not that's fighting in bigger arenas with 2,000 people instead of 15,000, whether it's in a studio, whether it's in a small club so it looks better on TV, you know, than a huge sound stage. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that someone's going to figure it out.
Switch gears a little bit. This morning I woke up and my eyes weren't totally open yet. I'm flipping around a Twitter, Facebook, or something. Did my eyes deceive me, or did someone putting out there something about a Floyd Mayweather Adrian Broner fight?
I don't know where it came from.
But you saw it though.
I don't know where it came from.
I just want to make sure I'm not crazy. I'm not the only crazy one that saw this.
Let me not comment on that.
Okay.
Until it happens. You know, if it happens, we'll have a lot more to say.
Talk about fights that we want to see. You mentioned a couple fights that, you know, may not happen for a little bit. Some of the fights that maybe can be made, you know, whether, you know, they're all English fights or all U.S. fights or whatever. Stuff that was on the docket that got canceled, that may not canceled but postponed, that we may see, you know, when the curtain rises on the new season of boxing.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is think about, you know, in-house fights that are starting up. Think about people in the same country, the same part of the country if it's America. So, for instance, one fight that made sense to me, I'm sure it's not going to happen. Billy Joe Saunders lost an opportunity to fight Canelo. So that would be a natural scenario to have a unification fight against Callum Smith.
Exactly.
In England. And if Callum Smith doesn't want to do that, then he could do the rematch against John Ryder, because I thought John Ryder beat him. It was a good fight. So, you know, you think about those scenarios where there's two people in the same division, in the same country, in the same promotional world, and you'd think it would be very easy necessarily to do that. But, you know, there's a lot of fights that can happen in the PBC. They have, you know, so many guys that are 147 pounds. You know, would Sean Porter do a rematch with Ugas, for instance? You know, Sean Porter is coming off a close loss to Earl Spence. He had a very close fight with Ugas.
I think Porter Spence too would be more realistic.
I honestly expect Spence to take some type of tune-up fight coming off the accident, but you could be right. I mean,
I'm saying if he goes rematch. I mean, if he goes the rematch, well, because I don't know. You know, Porter. I guess it's funny. Off the loss of Spence, and we watched the fight together. Porter's his specter became bigger. I mean, he became so. I don't know if it'd be worth it to fight a tricky, crafty guy like Ugas, you know, rather than a guy like Spence. I mean, then like you said, the PBC angle, Danny Garcia is still in the mix as well with a big name. So
yeah, I mean, obviously the PBC has tons of guys at 154. A fight that was called out today on social media was Erickson Lubin and Tony Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Harrison, of course, just lost his father
to
COVID. So I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but certainly a fight like that.
Like a de facto elimination bout for a world title, almost.
Sure. I mean, you could see that happening easily because they're both here, they're in the country. It can happen. So I think there are a bunch of them. You have to like put your thinking caps on, and it's going to need to make sense for the fighters and the promoters. The other thing I think that's something to be considered is where the promoters are based. So Top Rank is based in Nevada, Golden Boy is based in California. You know, Top Rank does shows around the country, but I don't expect their first shows to be in Madison Square Garden or Philadelphia. I think they're going to start in Las Vegas. That way they don't have to fly their staff all around the country, exposing them. I mean, I think they have such a local infrastructure in Las Vegas that I would expect, them to start there. I would expect Golden Boy to start in their California base. So you start looking at fighters that can kind of be brought in and, that aren't too far, and you don't have to fly people's. We'll see. Someone's going to make that leap. I don't know. Are there specific fights from your perspective that you're looking for, or you think could be made fairly easily?
Well, I mean, I was thinking, but obviously I don't think there's many real mega fights, like you said, just due to the financial needs that these fighters are gonna attract and what won't be met. But depending on where they are, I mean, like you said, that Saunders probably won't be able to get into the States for a while. That depending if Golovkin and Canelo are still, around, I would imagine Canelo can get in the country from Mexico. Golovkin, we know, lives out in L.A. area. So I mean, I don't know if that's a fight that can be made, but something like that. But there's who's Terrence Crawford going to fight? If you're figuring that all the PBC guys may kind of stay together before this, Terrence Crawford is there welterweights in the top rank stable? Is there maybe from another promoter? I mean, Aaron does business with everybody, so there's some fighters that are in limbo now.
Yeah, very much so. I think the only guy at 147 the only top-ranked guy of note, but I think he just failed a drug test, and I don't know what happened with Alexander Vesputin, but I don't think he lives in America.
No.
I think he still lives in Europe somewhere. I could be wrong about that.
A lot of these guys I know train out in California, so if he's been training out in California and hasn't been able to leave the country, so I guess he's here. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look into the top ranked stable 147 because there might be a couple people I don't know. I think I know, but I don't fully know. Listen, PBC does have a ton of guys at 147. There was people say Al and Bob don't ever work together. That's not true. They've done a lot of fights together over the years. It wouldn't surprise me if Terrence Crawford was to get an opponent from PBC. Not to bring up Ugas again, but somebody I could see someone like that. It wouldn't surprise me if the money's right and there's only going to be X number of dates moving forward. People are going to need fights. It wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world.
When boxing does get, I guess, the full clearance, give me the top 2 or 3 fights that you do want to see.
Well, I'm interested in whoever's Canelo fighting, whether that's Golovkin or any number of 10 or 15 people. Beevil's talked about moving down to 168 to fight him. I think that'd be a fantastic fight. I'd be very interested in that. We all want to see the mega fights eventually. We know that Crawford-Spence isn't happening anytime soon, unfortunately. I know that Wilder and Fury is a big fight that will happen one way or the other. I'm not sure the demand is there based in second. That's a big one. I really was looking forward to Inoue coming over to the States again.
Yeah.
And I think he's just an amazing fighter. And Casimir would have been a really nice test.
Yeah, that would be, and plus it would be an exciting fight for however long it lasts with those two big little punchers, little big punchers.
I'm a boxing fan, so a lot of stuff I'm gonna like. I'm not saying everything because we all know there's trash, but I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of stuff out there I'm gonna like. I don't, Matchroom stable is so far spread around the world. I don't know how that's gonna work out. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do with a guy if Eddie Hearn and his people have to stay in England and they can't really like they were. What are they gonna do with Devin Haney? What's Devin Haney gonna do? There's a lot of questions. I really hope the Teofimo Lopez-Lomachenko fight gets made again. Both guys are in America.
Yep.
One's saying they didn't want to fight in front of fans. The other doesn't care. I mean, I love that fight for 20 different ways.
Yep.
You know, it's boxing. Sometimes these fights get made, sometimes they don't.
Going back to your I know you've only done 2 so far. Give me 2 or 3 prospects that we should keep an eye on, in your opinion, that you've, with the Golden Boy and PBC. Give me a couple guys that we should look for.
That's a very good question. For Golden Boy, I'm going to give you a couple that are under the radar that, because I think we all know about, the Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, Garcia and Ortiz, they don't count.
Yeah. So we all know that. So what I want to do is come up with a couple of guys that I think people don't know about as well. Give me 1 second. I just want to bring that up just so I don't mispronounce the name.
Come on, you've been researching 700 names the past few. You don't have them all on the top of your head? Come on now.
No, I haven't. But so for Golden Boy, there's a guy I like a lot, Trevell Mazian.
Trevell, yeah, 154 pounder.
A lot of power. I believe he's in the middleweight division, and he's just one of these under the radar guys that everybody who's seen him knows he can fight real well. He originally came out of that James Kirkland stable in
Texas
and Austin. No longer associated with that gym. Had problems focusing a little bit on boxing, but seems to be very focused now. And he could be a quick riser. He's a guy I like a lot from that stable. Another guy I really like is a Montreal heavyweight named Arslan Bek Makhmoudov.
Yes.
I don't know. Have you ever heard about him, Mark?
I've seen him fight, yes.
Okay. He's kind of like a killer in the ring. And I was talking with some Golden Boy people, and they cannot wait, to bring him to America. So they're looking forward to that. And so those are 2 guys from Golden Boy. And let me...
When you ask me, remember, you're the guy who comes to my house and sees the 4,000 DVDs, so...
Well, that's true.
Arslan Bek is on a couple of those, I'm sure. Oh, actually, I know he is.
So, under the radar guys, I will tell you a guy who the PBC really likes, the people that I talk to there, that I'm not aware of. David Morrell. He's a 2-0 Cuban who fought.
Yeah, he was supposed to fight Lennox Allen for some interim belt, if I'm not mistaken.
He fought once deep on a Jamal James undercard in Minnesota, and another time off TV or very early on undercard, and they all swear he's only 22, 23. They think he's a very, very, very quick mover.
Yeah.
So that's a guy who is not on my radar that they seem to like a lot. Everybody I talk to, they're like, this is a guy. So okay, fine. Some of their other prospects. Michelle Rivera is kind of a really big hitter that's starting to get some notice. Omar Juarez, a couple people that I really like a lot. So I think those are some guys, some interesting names that may not be on everybody's radar. They have some interesting guys coming up.
Well, we only have a couple minutes left here. Just any final words, any final thoughts about boxing now or in the future?
Well, it's a great sport, and I've been watching a lot of live fights, old fights, but when they've been broadcasted on ESPN or Showtime, and I'm going to YouTube and watching old clips. And boxing is fantastic in that it doesn't lose any luster watching a fight from 1985 or 1993 or whatever. It's an amazing sport. I miss it. In some ways, the break is